I think it's a little bit of both. I think we're past the point now of looking at it because we've already, we came in yesterday. I guess Monday actually came in Monday, watched the tape together, met, players talked, coaches talked, all that, and we know what we got to fix and we know what we didn't do well, and now you just got to move forward and you got to go back to the confidence that we had before of we know we can do it and just go out there and produce. And really, I think just flush it and go. We got to get ready for this week. Obviously there's a lot of mistakes to correct, but we can do that, and we know it's simple things that we can control. So we just got to get better, and we're going to do that this week.
You had a pretty animated discussion on the sideline with Tavon after that play. How do you normally address things like? Because obviously, miscommunications happen.
Yeah.
Quite often. Is that something you normally address right after a play? Might you address it at halftime, after a game? Does it work differently when it comes to conversations like that have to be had?
Usually it's right away. If you're in a situation where you can, it's addressing that right away so it doesn't come up again in that situation. Just got to get on the same page, and stuff like that can't happen between quarterback, receiver, tight ends, whoever it is. We just all have to be on the same page. It's one thing. People are going to make plays, and you tip your hat to that, but as far as just not thinking and being on the same page, we can't have that. So just correcting that right when you see it, and we all got stuff to work on. I got to work on my accuracy. I wasn't very accurate last week, and so that's something going forward I got to get better at and give my guys more chances to get their hands on the ball and run after the catch. So we're working.
Do you think you're going to see a lot more coverages where they're taking away your deep threats and making you force the underneath throws? You thought they did a lot of that?
You're talking about Seattle?
Yeah, you think you're going to see more of that?
Yeah, I think that's something that around the league people are starting to do is play more zone, more too high, and try to eliminate the big plays. And that's something that Buffalo does a really good job of. So I think it's just adjusting, and when you have your chances, taking advantage of them, you're always, every game you're going to have a few chances at some shots, but you really got to take advantage of them. In some games you won't get as much as others, and you just never know what kind of game it's going to be till you're in it. And last week we didn't have a lot of chances down the field. They played a lot of too high, and we just didn't do a good job of staying on schedule and converting third and fourth down. We had opportunities and didn't do that. So every week it's a little bit different, but you see that for sure around the league more so now, I think, than ever. Less single high where they're trying to just stop guys from making huge plays.
Both in the moment and then when you watch the tape back, how much did not having James not only affect the play on the field, but also you as you're making decisions, as your comfortability in the pocket?
Obviously when you any good player that you lose, it hurts and it's going to affect the game. But I didn't think it was a huge change as far as scheme or anything like that. Whenever he came out, we stuck to what we had planned and just didn't execute well at all. Then we got behind, obviously, so then we were trying to catch up, and you're throwing the ball more than you want to, and that was kind of the story early in the season, and that's what we didn't want to get back to, and we did. So that's something that just continuing to grow and not put ourselves in those situations. But then obviously, like you said, when James goes out, that's hard. He's a great player. When there's nothing there, he'll make a play out of it, and when there is, he maximizes it. So when you lose a guy like that, it's hard. But we got other guys that can play. I thought Los did a really good job, and just next man up. There's really no excuses. We got to play better.
In looking at the Bills' defense, obviously the 4-3, Urban said, there's not a lot of those in the NFL these days, and maybe the Texans would be the only other one, and kind of the Seahawks. But in preparing for this defense, how is it different than others that you guys have faced so far?
Yeah, this is the first one since game one, the 4-down structure, and I guess that's what I'm more used to from college. That's more, you get more 4-down than odd and bear and all that stuff. So I think that's easier to go back and prepare for this when you have the 3-4 with the stand-up backers and all that on the edge. I think that's a little bit harder because it changes the way you ID everything. So I think this is always like reverting back to what we're used to, going back to 4-down, but it's definitely different. You look at pressures different, and structure changes when you have a front like that.
Is it kind of harder to disguise pressures when they're in the front like that?
I'd say a little bit, because you got the bubble somewhere, and usually that gives you a good tell of where the pressure is going to come from. And but they do a good job. They don't try to trick you really. They do what they do, and they do it well. I think that's what they're first in almost every category in defense. So you see they're really disciplined, really smart. They just fly around, high effort, got guys making plays. They had, I think, 13 takeaways. So all those things, it doesn't really matter if they disguise it. If they're where they're supposed to be, they put themselves in a position to make the play, and they do a good job of that.
Josh Allen just was in here talked about how he's excited for a bounce back opportunity against a team that's considered, one of the best teams in the NFL. How do you feel about that? Does it matter whether the next team after a not so good game is elite or is struggling? I'm just wondering if you feel like playing against one of the elite teams is kind of a great opportunity after what happened last week.
I mean, it's always a good opportunity when you're playing a great team. You got a good opportunity to go out there and show what you can do and go beat a really good team. But every week, I mean, any team can beat you. You see the Seahawks had lost a few in a row, and we came in and laid an egg, played terrible, and they killed us. So stuff like that, I mean, every week you come ready and play your best to win. And so doesn't matter who you're playing. That's the motivation, is that you can get beat any week, and you can beat anyone any week. So that's how we look at it. But it's definitely exciting to get an opportunity to play them because they've been playing so well.
Knowing you've studied other quarterbacks, I think you've mentioned Josh Allen before as a guy you kind of looked at a little bit. Stylistically, where does he fall in the grand scheme of quarterbacks in the NFL that maybe you watch or just that we're seeing right now playing in the league?
Yeah, I mean, he's really unique. I think just a guy that can get out of the pocket, use his legs, but he's also, 240, 250, he's huge, and then strong arm, a little bit of plays kind of like Patrick Mahomes, but I think runs more and just looks like he has fun out there, makes plays, and that's a guy that I look at. We're similar, I think, in traits. He's a lot bigger than me, but just someone that I look at that I can pull things from, just what he does well. And I think that's been someone that's been cool to watch. And we have one of the same trainers, Jordan Palmer. So I've kind of seen him around, met him, talked to him, and I think he does a really good job.
Let's take one more.